Hey, what's up, everybody? We have a new YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe right now. Leave a comment on the video. Share it with your friends. It's also a podcast, 3 and Out, wherever you listen with me, John Middlekauff, Apple, Spotify. We have you covered, as well as thevolume.com. We have merch. Check out. I got 3 and Out hats right now. Thevolume.com. Search the podcast. Buy some merch. And obviously, the wide receiver class is pretty good. And I think I'm from Northern California, the Sacramento area, so Napa's right up the road. To go from Napa High School to Georgia and on a team with 700 NFL players, most of whom they got drafted really high, and immediately be one of their best players. I think Brock Bowers is one of the better college players I've seen in recent memory. And at that level, if the Chargers were to get stuck at 5, which is possible, right? If the 4 quarterbacks go, right, they're going to have their pick of the litter. They don't need a left tackle. So I'm sure he could probably play right tackle, but the wide receiver or Bowers, I would put Bowers right there with the wide receivers in terms of what I've seen. What's your thoughts on Brock Bowers?
Yeah, I think more and more, my buddy Daniel Jeremiah calls it kind of a positionless NFL right now, and I agree with him. Like, I don't care what label you put on wide out, X, Y, Z, or tight end, Y, F, whatever. I don't care about the label. He's a playmaker. Okay. And you're going to be creative in ways you use them, just like San Francisco does with their tight end out of Iowa, Kittle, similar kind of size, body type to Bowers. Bowers is a baller. And whether it's making catches against corners, safeties, and linebackers, running away from people, using his body, what I like is he'll even line up in line and compete. And I don't think he's going to make a living in line in the NFL, but he'll compete. And and as a former scout, John, you and I, we're looking for competitors, right? We're looking for guys that compete their asses off. And that's he's a gifted dude in the pass game, and he will compete in the run game. Is he a top 10 pick? I think on paper, or talent-wise, yes, he is. And I don't care what you call him, but it's a little bit. You mentioned Lamar Jackson a minute ago, and you said it's lucky Baltimore drafted him. Well, to Baltimore's credit, they've created a whole offensive scheme around what he does well.
Sure.
That's what Greg Roman was good at. That's what, some of the things they did to put Lamar in position to win. And that's the same thing with Bowers. You got to put him in position to win. You got to take advantage of what he does really well, and that's win in the pass game. And I think he's special.
Would you be comfortable taking him above the other 3 wideouts if you were in a position if you could take either?
I love Nabers. I love Marvin Harrison. Odunze is I have Odunze just a notch below those 2, and I think Bowers as a weapon. I think you could lump him in there, but again, the caveat is, if you're going to take a guy at 4 or 5 or 8 or even, if you're going to take that tight end somewhere in there or that wide out, you better find ways to get him the football. You can't just draft him and say, go block the defensive end and pass protection. We're not doing that.
Okay, I'll get you out of here on this. Most years, they're just, littered with defensive players, whether it's, a couple corners, some pass rushers, Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa, whoever. It doesn't really feel like that in this draft. Who's a defensive player that you just go, I don't think we're talking about him as much. And sometimes it's because the quarterbacks suck up so much oxygen. But it legitimately, I mean, there's a chance the defensive player does not go in the top 10, which would be kind of crazy, but it definitely is on the table right now.
I think there's some edge rushers that are exciting. The Dallas Turner from Alabama, the kid from Penn State, Chop Robinson. I think the Latu from UCLA, he's gifted. He's a big, strong kid that can play on either side. He can play with his hand down. He can stand up. He can drop. He's an athletic kid. I like him a lot. Verse from Florida State. I think any of those guys are worthy of talking about. The linebacker from A&M, is it Cooper? Boy, is he fun to watch on tape. And the 2 corners that I really like are Terrion Arnold from Alabama, and a kid that I don't think people are talking enough about is a Lassiter kid from Georgia. I mean, I think he was he and Arnold were my two top rated corners, and I'm seeing a lot of second round grades on him, and I think he's a better player than that.
What do you think the keys are? One more question at corner now. I mean, living it day to day like you did, is that I've always thought the top end speed, it's hard to be a slow corner. Obviously, you can get away with it a little bit in certain type defenses, but still, you're going to get put in position. The level of talent at wide receiver in the NFL right now has to be top to
Yeah.
bottom, never been deeper. It's hard to kind of hide when you're a high 4.5, low 4.6 guy. Is that a make or break number for you that you need to, have some speed at a certain number cut off you're not touching?
Yeah, I try not to get too heavy on the cutoff on the numbers. I want to know what they ran. Um, More importantly, I think in today's world of back shoulder throws is can a corner find the ball with his back to the quarterback? And the other thing is, I think you got to be cognizant of what your defensive coaches are asking your corners to do. Are you a single high team playing off and mostly zone concept, cover one, cover three? Or are you going to be a press team? Or are you going to do a little bit of both? And I think once you answer all those questions and you know what your defensive coaches are looking for, the fit is the most important thing. I mean, I've played with some corners that are 4.55 that just have a great feel for the game, and they don't look 4.55.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but the hardest thing to find, I always thought, is when the corner's back is turned, you're a press corner, and you're running with the receiver, and it can either be a go, a fade, or a comeback back shoulder. All the advantages go to the wide out and the quarterback. Can you find the football, whether it's a deep throw or on the back shoulder? And a lot of these guys, no matter how gifted they are, they can't find it. And if you can't find it, ultimately you're going to get exposed.